evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Pig once again. You might remember me from previous streams such as the BTC Championship on rFactor 2 and round 1 of the late night ACC Strategist nightclub. You are here for some more ACC action. You may notice we also have a stream ongoing at the moment, which is the 12 hours of Monza qualifying on PlayStation 5 for the 12 hours of Monza event tomorrow. So that's something to stay tuned. We also have just a small matter of 24 hours of Suzuka on PC, which is, well, both events are massively hotly anticipated, and I'm sure you're all going to tune in for. We have tonight the I'm trying to use the right word for this, the much hated Snetterton. I think it gets a massively bad rap. It looks like Kenny from Safe Back lying sideways, but it gets a bad rap, and I don't think it deserves a bad rap. It is absolutely beautiful track to go and watch some go and watch some real life racing, and these GT3 cars around the track sometimes struggle. You may have watched the Masters and Rookies events taking place last night in some mixed conditions. I think the Pro-Am race was raining cats and dogs, whereas the Masters Pro race was dry as a bone. And here we are today. It's a beautiful day in the East Anglian coast. We have optimum track conditions, 19 degrees track temperature, air temperature, and 25 degrees track temperature. So perfect conditions for racing. What we've had so far, sadly, due to work commitments, I missed Rain 2, but I am back for Rain 3. We had a beautiful, a crazy race in Monza where Desmond Penguin came out on top, and then at Suzuka last week, which is where we're also at for the 24-hour race, Francesco Sietti was first and third. Roberto Robecci was second and first, and both drivers are sadly not participating with us for the remainder of the series, but we do have some great drivers on track. Our top 5 in the championship, remember there is one drop round, are Michael Firth in 5th, Francesco Sietti in 4th, Alexander Alves in 3rd, Roberto Robecci in 2nd, and Desmond Penguin at top of the tree. So that's what we have got so far. The remaining races for the calendar are Watkins Glen next week, Alton Park the week after, Zandvoort, and we finish off the land of the Indy 500 in Indianapolis. So lots of fantastic tracks to look forward to, and hopefully the racing whets your appetite. We have just under 3 minutes left of practice before we go into our 6 minutes qualifying session, which will set the grid for race 1 and race 2. Race 1 and 2 will be 20 minutes with a short formation lap, so a frantic sprint to the finish. Drivers worth keeping an eye on, and there are a few. We've got Mark Brophy, who we saw earlier on in the stream, currently top of the timing sheets with Domokos Kish in 2nd. Michael Firth, the Floppy Fox, is in 3rd place, and our championship leader Desmond Penguin in 4th. We had Nico Veltman in his favourite Audi in 5th place, and we have Thomas Vorietz. Sorry, my Dutch isn't the best, is in 6th. Marco Keddy is in 7th place in the Mercedes with Daniel Krischneider. Sorry, my wife just scared the life out of me with a lovely coffee. Thank you. Oh, hot chocolate. Thank you very much. Daniel Krischneider in 8th place and Alan Brizzle Brown in 9th. I've just dropped my keyboard on the floor. Alan Brown in 10th currently, and Mark GG in 11th. So a driver has elevated their position. I will not be offended if you decide to tune in for the qualifying. I think they're at round 2. They've already had one round of knockouts, so we're now starting to get to the interesting section. I am the appetizer ahead of 24 hours of Suzuka on PC, where the commentary team is star-studded as ever. We have the Italian stallion Chromedix kicking things off, handing over to the wondrous Pink Pig. Then Lewis makes his PC commentary debut, and Night Shift is going to have the dulcet Scottish tones of Raven. Then we're going to kind of do a bit more of a round robin between Lewis, myself, and Chromedix will finish the show off, and I'm pretty sure it will be an epic one. This is the penultimate round of the Endurance Series, and there's 23 points separating the top 4 teams, but we'll delve deeper into that tomorrow. Now the question is, how do you drink a hot chocolate with whipped cream, marshmallows, buttons, whilst you have a microphone in your face? Answers on a postcard, and we will try and figure that one out together. Hello, Mr. Williams. Hello, Smiley. How are you, sir? When are we going to see you back on an ACC grid? I'm intrigued to find this information out. We do miss you. Nice to see you back in terms of rFactor 2. And hopefully we'll see you joining Mr. Longdon in a GT3 car. We are in the final seconds. We've just got a couple of drivers still out on track. There's Alan Brizzle Brown in his beloved Aston Martin. I think I'm going to go with a spoon. He's going to, I think the bop which we run, oh, twisty, has saved his life and has saved his life experience. He enjoyed the BMW to a degree, but I think his love definitely sits with the Aston Martin. Our drivers are now just leaving the track as I'm just about to try and figure out how to, there we go, one-handedly press Alt and Tab to remove the screen. Yes, so LFM Bop has saved his experience. Mark Brophy is our first driver out on track. He's followed by, I think that's Alves in second place. So we will jump on board with Mark for his first tour of, first hot lap of Snetterton. In the red line, Zach Racing. I'm not sure if it's meant to be camouflaged, but it's quite a sexy livery, I will say that. Snetterton's a wonderful circuit to come and watch motor racing. It is very flat, as Norfolk generally is. I think once upon a time I read an interesting stat that if all the students who were in Norfolk peed in the shower rather than the toilet, the water levels on the east coast of England would drop by like 2 or 3 inches. If that doesn't give you an insight into my personality and the type of information I like to know, I'm not sure what will. Anyway, just coming towards the final corner now. We're jumping on board with Mark Brophy as we go down the start-finish straight. It's short pit entry line, but we're going to drift from the right-hand side of the track to the left-hand side of the track for our turn 1. You're going to want to carry as much speed as possible. He brakes just before the 100-meter board. Slight lift off the throttle and getting back on the throttle now, ready for the hairpin. Brake around the 200-meter board, try and take a tight apex and get on the power as early as possible on the left-hand side of the track. We're going to want to bring the car back over to the right-hand side for this sweeping left-hander where you need to be patient in terms of the power. Now get that right foot down to the ground, brush the curbs on the right-hand side. Prepare yourself for the next left-hander, braking around the 150-meter board. Try and make this a V-shaped entry and exit to breathe on the throttle again on the right hand side. Another tricky left-hander, quite easy to invalidate and lose track limits on exit. Mark just manages to keep the car inside. Patience on this right-hander now. We've got another, it's kind of a, well, it is a a short straight and then another right-hander to get on the power. The exit is very, very, very important because this is the longest straight on the track. Next section is left, right, followed by another right. So car on the right-hand side of the track, try and cut the apex on the left-hand side as much as you dare. Avoid the bollard, bounce across the curb on the right-hand side without drifting too wide on the left. Again, another right-hander, patience on the throttle. This right-hander feels like it will never, ever, ever end. As we can see, Mark, be patient as possible. We want to keep the car over to the right-hand side as possible for the final turn into the start-finish straight. And that is an excellent lap and a definite, well, more than a banker lap by Mark Brophy. That is a 1:46.1 is the time to beat for Mark Brophy. That is a fantastic effort, and drivers will probably only get at least 2 attempts to be able to do that. We got a yellow flag with Demokos Kish. He set his 1 lap, he has gone to the pits and straight back out. Desmond Penguin has gone into P2, the Colombian driver, in the team of Penis. Mark GG is in the pits as well. Mark Brophy is currently going faster. Let's see if we can jump on board with Marco Keddy in the Mercedes. Currently 2 seconds up on his best time at the moment, although his best time is a 42 minutes and 34 seconds. So we're going into the final corner now, and that Mercedes bouncing across the curbs. That Merc can eat them, and it does have some great grunt. The only thing is you might get is some snap oversteer on exit or understeer on entry, so it's kind of the worst of 2 scenarios. Marco pops it into P2. Christopher Gedman in that wonderful Porsche livery is currently P11. Chris has raced on this track all week. Started out on Sunday on PS5, Tuesday on PS5, and then rookies on Thursday. So hopefully he's had some decent practice already. Alan Brown is already off the track. We're going to jump back on board with Mark now, as he is currently 0.2 of a second up. He's already 0.4 ahead of Marco in P2. Desmond Penguin's going a little bit quicker, which we'll jump onto momentarily. Into the final corner for Mark Brophy now. We've got 40 seconds left, so we'll have 1 more opportunity after this to set another lap. So Mark Brophy crosses the line and goes into the 45.925. Desmond Penguin's just going across the start finish straight now, and he is now in P2, 0.457 seconds off the best time there. Barry Gibbons is also going a bit quicker in 10th place, just going through the final corner now in the Rari Mobile. One of the SBR racers getting a little bit of a slipstream from the Gedman Mobile in front. And that pops Barry from P10 into P6. That is a terrific effort from him. We've got Nico Veltman in 5th place. He has finished his stint. Daniel Chris Schneider crossing the line. Currently it dropped down to P10 with Barry's lap. And he's not going any faster as he has abandoned his lap. Alpa Patan has invalidated his lap as well. There was Mark Stewart, which I was going to try and look at. He is a minute and 13 seconds. He's currently 0.6 up on his personal best at the moment of a 49.2. Drops down into P18. Alexander Alves is also 0.3 of a second up. Mark Brophy is currently down on his personal best time. Desmond Penguin is level best with his, but he has 0.4 of a second. Marco Keddy, Firth, Veltman and Gibbons are all done for this qualifying session. Mark Stewart in Mark 1 Racing getting that power down from P18. Is there going to be an improvement from him up all the way up to P12? Let's have a look at Alexander Alves, who's going through the final corner now. He is 0.6 of a second up on his personal best time. He's currently in P7. He had an excellent race in Mazzano and had hotly anticipated to do well today, and that has popped him up into P2. Desmond Penguin has been demoted to P3, and he is not going to improve. We've got Fabio Gallimani going through the final corner now. He has a driver right up his backside, but Fabio is in P13 at the moment, and he drops to P14, and that driver must have been, I don't know who that was, but that is anyone else on a lap which we can see. It does not look like it is, and I'm possibly wrong, but that is the end of qualifying. We will make a quick summary. There was a car coming across the line, but I don't think he was. They were improving. So that is qualifying for both our race 1 and race 2. We got Mark Brophy in P1, Alexander Alves in P2. Let's go into drive so we don't see any annoying bits on the screen. So we've got Mark Brophy P1, Alexander Alves P2, Desmond Penguin in P3, Domokos Kish 4, Marco Keddy in 5th, Michael Firth in 6th, Nico Veltman in 7th place, Barry Gibbons in 8th, Alan Brown in 9th, Thomas in 10th, Daniel Krishnider in 11th, Alpa Patan in 12th, Mark Stewart in 13th, Fabio Gallimani in 14th, Sean Connor in 15th, Blizzle Blake in 16th, Jake DeShong in 17th, Christopher Gedman in 18th, Callum Watt the Sweaty Sock in 19th, my teammate for tomorrow Mark GG in 20th, and Baris Kakaril in P21. I'm just going to have a quick attempt to drink some of this hot chocolate. I will be back in a moment. I'll leave the pictures running. Well, all I will say is that hot chocolate was absolutely beautiful, but the action is here on track. Mark Brophy currently leads the way going down into turn 1 from Alves, from Penguin, from Kiss. The jump-in driver was actually Domokos Kish. Thank you, Christopher, in identifying that. That's why I need a co-commentator. Short formation lap, remember. So, Mark Brophy leads Alves, leads Penguin. Going down the start-finish straight. Will there be death? Will everyone survive? Momentarily, we will find out. Alves is just trying to get up alongside, trying to predict that green light. And they are all very, very close. This right-hander will be tricky. And we are go. And Alves has had a great start already alongside Mark Brophy going down into turn 1. In fact, ahead of Mark Brophy going down into turn 1. But Mark has that inside line. Space given to the left to Alves. Alves then has to run a little bit wide. That's going to put him under threat from Desmond Penguin directly there, and also Domokos Kish gets a little bit squeezed out and gets a little bit pushed, but Mark Brophy leads Alves, leads Penguin, and there is Kish and Nico Veltman. Veltman runs a little wide, opening the gap from Marco Keddy. Nico Veltman slides and has dropped massive amount of positions all the way down to P10, going into our first left-hand hairpin. And now we have had a big change. Domokos Kish has dropped down to 5th, Keddy all the way up to 4th. But our leader, Mark Brophy, is absolutely flying, half a second ahead of Alexander Alves already. Alves is in that Porsche. We have some death at the back. At the middle, we're going to try and see if we can see who it is. Alan Brown once again involved in the death. We will try and have a look and see what happened. So this is car number 77 into the braking zone, and that flying Barry Gibbons absolutely smacked into the side. And once one goes, the domino effect kicks in, and multiple drivers are impacted by that incident. As we just saw what happened there. But Brizzle already in 20th, Mark GG in 21st, so not of the best a start for the two FRL drivers. Hopefully they will have better results tomorrow. But jumping on board with Marco in P4, right up the backside of Desmond Penguin in P1. Let's jump on board with Marco and see where he's going to try and spot the weaknesses in Desmond Penguin. Maybe it is the warm heat at Snetterton. Looking left, then looking right round the hairpin. Desmond has the inside line. Marco's going to try and get the switch back. Desmond covers it beautifully. Superb defensive driving, but there is a massive gap from Michael Firth to Alper Patan in 7th place. Due to the chaos inflicted towards the rear of the grid. But Mark GG has already said, I have had enough of race 1. I'm going to prepare mentally for race 2. So already 2.5 minutes gone of this race. Keddy is attempting to pass Desmond Penguin. Let's have a look further down. Michael Firth is making an attempt on to Mokosh Kish. Closed massively in the braking zone. But not enough to make a move. So just a huge thanks to our partners Go Setups, who are also sponsoring the 2023 Endurance Series, Faster Designs, which is one of Keddy's loves, and Next Level Racing, who sponsor Taco Tuesday on PS5, Pitwall Live, who provide our wonderful data. Make sure you tune into that channel tomorrow for all your team needs, and of course Pure Sim Gear, who sponsors our Masters and Rookie series. Please check our links in our bio to check out the website. SimGrid, of course, Formula Racing League, #1 followed community, and Southwest IT, who provide all our beautiful service. So there we go, a huge thank you to all our sponsors. Fabio Gallimani has moved up into P13. Christopher Gedman is all over. Bakis Kakaril in 15th and 14th, slowly dropping back though in terms of the time. And we got Barry Gibbons, who inflicted some death earlier in the race. Hope you don't mind me taking the piss out of you, but yeah, that was a bit late. As Alan Brown wants to flick some revenge of his own as he approaches the hairpin. Some flappy bonnet syndrome of Mr. Brizzle Brown. No move is made there. Back to our fight for P3. You can see Alexander Alves just up there in front. Marco Keddy sliding round in the Mercedes. Best lap so far has been a 47.2 from Marco. Now he's going to have a move at the inside. A little bit of contact there with Penguin, but no shunts off the track in car number 737 against car number 717. I don't think they make a Boeing 717, to be honest. But there we go. So back on board with the Swiss-Brazilian driver. McLaren's flowing some flames off in front, but nothing given there. But this fight is also bringing in Kish and Firth into the action, and they're not too far behind, although Firth has dropped a little bit back. Mark Stewart has gained a place over Sean Connor, but Sean doesn't really want to give that one up. Then we've got Callum Watt, the sweaty socks, so Scotsman on Scotsman action. I'm sure you can find that on a certain entertainment channel, shall we say. I'll leave that to your search history. Remember, private browsing. Marco Keddy all over the back of Penguin still. He's like a polar bear after a meal, although polar bears are North Pole and penguins are South Pole. But we'll go with it. Oh, heat over an ice cap. There we go. Global warming over an ice cap. Not sure if I'm getting better or worse, but we're going to go with it. So Marco again shows his nose to Desmond on the inside. We've seen Desmond both on attack and defence at Misano, so we know he is no shrinking violet when it comes to a good fight. Overtook Alexander Alves in the last couple of laps at Misano in race 1, certainly. and race 2 he had to put a bit of a more of a defensive show. But Mark Brophy currently leads away by 1.3 seconds from Penguin, from 1.6 seconds behind him. Keddy is then 2/10, gap to then Domokos Kish of 1.2 seconds, as Keddy now is going to look for the inside outside line, hoping for a switch. But I think that that McLaren of Penguins will have definitely a better final sector, just with that extra downforce. The weight of the front of that Merc, I can't imagine necessarily likes this this penultimate corner, and then trying to get the weight transfer then for the final corner. If I had a camera on, you would have seen a lovely shimmy of me trying to show the weight transfer, but no, I don't. Sergio! Alan got murdered twice yesterday. All fault. To the two biggest fans, Sergio and Chris. Keddy again is just trying to look, but he just can't get that move done. Desmond isn't making any mistakes. We have a yellow flag as we got Bakis Kakaril both in the pits. So let's have try a sneaky peek of what this yellow flag was for. So 32 Bakis Kakaril just pulls over to the side and then dives into the pits. So I thought I was just quite sure then if Marco had passed Desmond, but no, they're still there. He just wants some stream time. That's basically all Marco ever wants. But we're going to go off for Team Penis and Desmond, the Colombian or Ecuadorian. I'm now starting to feel like it's not Colombia. I'm so glad I turned up to all my geography lessons. No. So Desmond is trying to go. Good news is Mark GG is back out on track. He's repaired his car. He's got the spanner out, some super glue, and he is back out on track. So looking at the rear wing, you could also see that fight between Kish and Firth in the background. Still 1.1 seconds between Brophy and Alves right up in front. Callum Watt and Christopher Gedman are also entertaining themselves, shall we say. The BMW hasn't quite got up to the Porsche and been able to make a move, but we will try and keep an eye on that fight as well. But Diaz Michael Firth has got a bit closer, isn't he? 0.3 of a second behind Domokos Kish in 5th place. Daniel Krishnaider, his fellow Hungarian, is in 10th place. So if we go from back to front, we've got Mark GG 5 laps down. Jake Deschamps back in the pits. Barry Gibbons followed by in front of him is Brown, then Blake, then Sweaty Sock, then the Gedman, rule number 2. Fabio Galimani in 13th, Connor in 12th, Stewart in 11th, Chris Schneider in 10th, Thomas in 9th, Veltman is back up into 8th, Alpa Patan is 7th, followed by Firth, then it's Firth, Kish, Keddy, Penguin, Alves and Brophy leads the way. Looks as though Keddy is a little bit closer again, but I don't think there's that big of a pace difference to be able to make the move between the two drivers. Very, very similar lap times. Both of them did a 46.9 essentially last tour around the track. And the slipstream doesn't seem as strong. We're into the final 10 minutes here of race 1. We still have another 20-minute race to finish off your evening and send you to bed with a nice cup of cocoa. This straight just isn't long enough. You can see the Mercs closing a little bit, and then into the braking zone. The McLaren takes it a little bit wider, manages to get onto the power in towards the hairpin now. This gets very, very close on exit, just about no contact made. But unless there's a mistake or a desperate lunge, I can't really see that move happening. the Sweaty Sock and Gedman gap has kind of extended. We do have Blizzy Blake on Alan Brown for 17th and 16th position. But let's go back up to our fight that we've been with for most of the race so far. 9/10 of a second is the gap between Brophy and Alves now. Last time around, Alves was a full second quicker than these two drivers and almost 3/10 quicker than Brophy, so he's pulling away from Penguin and Keddy due to their ongoing battle. Kish is now less than a second behind these two, so this two-way is going to become a four-way, and that's called a good night. Don't forget, we have multiple race nights here in Formula Racing League. Our week kicks off on Sunday with the PS5 Super Sprint. I'm going to shut up about that for a second, because is Marco going to try and make the move around the outside in true M&M style? No, he is not. Into the braking zone. Is this a desperate maneuver? Desmond goes full-blown defensive and takes the inside line. There's going to be potential some door rubbing on exit, but both drivers are supremely clean. Now Marco will have the inside line for this left-hander, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make a move. That is terrific racing by both Desmond and Marco, but Desmond doesn't want to give this one up. He is now going to try and look round the outside. Keddy this time has to go defensive and block the mover. Demokos Kish has clinged right onto this battle now. Keddy goes again defensive over Desmond, and that was superbly clean and absolutely brilliant racing, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we want to see day in and day out. Huge respect to those two drivers. Penguin now needs to worry about behind, because Kish has more pace, 4/10 of a second quicker in that last lap, but now Desmond will have advantage and disadvantage. He'll have the slipstream of the Mercedes in front, but he'll also have the aero wash going through the corners and slight potential understeer going through those corners as well, which can bring Demokos into the fight if he has better tyres. Not necessarily tyre strategy in a 20-minute race, but small margins and all that. So our view from above as they go down the start-finish straight, not as straight. Gap in front between Brophy and Alves has been extended to 1.8 seconds. Keddy is now 4.6 seconds behind them. Penguin's just under a second behind car number 737. Kish is half a second behind Desmond, and then Michael Firth is only half a second behind Kish as well. So that's been an ongoing battle for the first three quarters of this race as well. So they don't want to give up the ghost. Mark GG is desperately trying to unlap himself from Jake DeShong, who has stayed in the pits. Callum Watt is once again all over Christopher Gedman. Chris goes a little bit wide. Callum now goes to the left-hand side. No move there, but Brizzle is all over the back of these two drivers as well. And I'm afraid I am going to have to switch back to our fight more at the front of the grid, although that gap has been slightly extended, so we will stay with Callum Watt, the Sweaty Sock, under the fight by rule number 2 Gedman and rule number 1 Alan Brown. Oh, the Sweaty Sock goes very wide, and Brizzle takes full advantage and moves up to 15th position. We are looking at Chris Gedman and his rear wing. I can only assume that's his children's name on the back, otherwise that would be a bit weird. Brizzle will have more pace than Gedman, but not necessarily a done deal. With that damage on the front wing as we go towards the final corner of this track. This left-hander, we got just over 3 minutes. Chris runs a little bit wider, which will probably prevent him getting on the power as early as he would want to. Alan is going to, in the slipstream, he's going to hang on to that as much as possible as Chris goes to defensive to the left-hand side into the corner. Alan has to bail out a little bit. But heading towards the hairpin, Chris again goes defensive. There's his one movement, no more movements allowed into the braking zone. Now we've got Callum Watt, the sweaty sock, back into this fight as well. After his error allowed Alan Brown to go past. Mark GG is back in the pits, so he will not be unlapping himself, and the 75% rule will be applied, and that will be unfortunately a DNF. Lots of drivers sat in the practice servers earlier on today and this evening practicing for Suzuka. Some absolute mighty times on show. We will try and have a look at my wonderful Google sheet for the standings. No, Christopher's not easy to overtake. He is a bit of a brick wall. I'm not going to say anything bad, like he's unpredictable or anything, because that would be mean. But Alan is looking left and right. He decides to try and go around the outside. Chris defends the inside line. Chris again goes wide, bouncing across the curb. Alan takes evasive action through the long right-hander and then kind of moves over the front of Chris Gedman. But Alan fortunately managed to keep it on track, and so does Chris. But Chris has now dropped down to 15th place. That was a circumspect move, but it was a move, and flappy bonnet syndrome Alan Brown does have P14 from Christopher Gedman. Callum Watt is now giving Gedman another issue, and is he going to make a move down the inside? No, he is not. Maybe into the hairpin as he oh, careful guys, there's a car coming. I think that's Blake in the BMW. So I think this is just after, and that was a second contact. So it might be this one. So we'll try. So leader is on the final lap, so we will not try and look at that instant one more time. Fabio Gallimani on Sean Connor. Fabio goes for the move down the inside on the curbs, and that was optimistic to say the least. And Fabio, that door was probably firmly shut, and yeah, no move made there. But our current race leader on his final tour of the track is Mark Brophy. Hasn't been on the screen very much. He has led from word go. Alexander Alves has tried to chase him down as gallantly as possible, but it looks as though he will end up P2 unless anything drastically happens. Marco Kelly had a fantastic battle with Desmond Penguin for about 15 minutes of this race, but eventually came out on top. And Desmond Penguin, oh, we got a yellow flag between Nico Veltman and Alper Patan. Nico has moved up to P7. Alper Patan wants it back. Be interesting to see if the stewards have to review that one post-race. As now Nico loses P8 to Thomas. His fellow Dutchman has overtaken him. But our race leader and ultimately our race winner, as he goes through the final tour of the track, the final couple of corners to navigate to secure the race 1 victory in the Red Line Zach Racing car number 462 in his another driver who absolutely loves the Aston Martin. I have not seen Mark in anything but in Formula Racing League anyway, and I think it is rather a nice livery. No ugly sponsors plastered all over it, but going through the final corner now to win race 1 is Mark Brophy. And that is the victory, ladies and gentlemen, and a terrific one. Alex Alves in P2. Marco Keddy comes across the line in P3 with Desmond Penguin in P4. P5 will be Demokosh Kish, followed closely by Michael Firth, the Floppy Fox. P7 Alpa Patan with that controversial move on Nico Veltman in the last lap. Thomas, who ultimately victored from that in P8. Nico Veltman in 9th. Daniel Chris Schneider will cross the finish line in P10. Mark Stewart in 11th, and a terrific result from him. Sean Connor coming through the final corner now will claim P12. The bandages and plasters will be applied to Alan Brizzle Brown's car in P13. Somehow Barry Gibbons managed to recover to P14. Christopher Gedman, who was also in the wars, in P15, followed by Callum Watt, the sweaty sock. Blizzle Blake in 17th. Fabio Gallimani made that interesting move in P18. And sadly already retired is Jake DeShong and Mark GG. So that was our race 1. So Brophy, Alves and Keddy were your podium. I guess that was Marco in the chat with Faster. But that was a terrific battle and well done. We will be back shortly for race 2. I need a drink. Right, I've been told by the powers that be that my game catcher is slightly out of place. It's not. I can't move it. There we go. No, I can't. There we go. So for some reason, because I've changed my screen size to fit the 16:9 ratio, it is now cutting off the top of the screen. But there we go. Live with it. That is I have to say, an absolutely lovely distorted picture of Chris Gedman's car with, I think that's Blake just in front in the car number 1. That looks kind of nice, I will say. But we are getting ready shortly for our final race of the evening. Another 20-minute sprint race. As you can see, the drivers prepared for the final couple of corners. I don't see a couple of drivers on track from race 1, and the order I have is very distorted because it's showing the drivers who finished, who qualified 17th, 18th and 19th and 20th right at the top of my list. So I can go back to that again. That's quite a nice one. So let's have a look at just a reminder of our top 5 drivers. So we've got Brophy, Alves, Penguin, Kish, Firth, as my order is slowly playing up. So we're going to stay, and I think the server order is also playing up quite massively, and drivers not necessarily expecting the start. So Mark needs to be careful in how he approaches this as the drivers start to sort themselves out for race 1. Race 2, as we go through the final corner now, Mark got a little bit slippy, a little bit slidey, but the top couple of drivers have managed to sort themselves out in some sort of grid order. Alves again trying his tactic of trying to predict when the green light will hit. Managed to get alongside in race 1 is this but Mark had the inside line as we're prepared to, on your marks, get set, and we will go for race 2. And once again, Alexander Alves has a great start and is in front of Mark Brophy, side by side through turn 1. Alexander Alves, who led for a long time at Misano, has the lead from Mark Brophy as they go through the hairpin. Mark has the inside line, potentially Alexander going for the switchback. Made contact with Desmond Penguin in P6 as they're going side by side through this left-hander now. On to the next straight. Desmond Penguin has moved up to P2. Had a terrific start by Desmond, but Alexander will have the inside line for the left-hand hairpin, looking for a switchback. Alexander struggles to get onto the power as Desmond goes right up his backside again, looking at the rear wing of the Porsche, but Mark is currently 0.8 a second. That move was made a hell of a lot quicker than it was made last time by Marco Caddy. He is already up into P3 as Desmond drops back down to P4. We got Nico Veltman in P5, followed closely by Demokos Kish. Some side-by-side Alan Brizzle-Brown and Thomas Action with a Porsche of Alpa Patan. There too, as they're going to be deaf. There's a quite chance of it, as Alan managed to negotiate the first part of the chicane and managed to get the exit. Alpa Patan in the black liveried Porsche is fighting away, but no move made there. Desmond Penguin, the hunter, becomes the hunted, as now Desmond is trying to hold down Marco Keddy in the Mercedes. Marco wants Alves' blood in P2 in the car number 8 of the Porsche. Remember, we are using the LFM BOP here in Formula Racing League in all our PC events. As Marco goes very wide there, but Desmond still holds on to the place. Brophy has a considerable gap behind him. Alexander doesn't have such luxuries, with a chunky Mercedes trying to chase him down. We've had accent towards the back of the grid as we're going to try and look at it now. Car number 98 was involved, 989 was involved, and that is the Callum Watt, the sweaty sock, closing on him as that Alan Brizzle Brown going the wrong way. That is Mark GG getting all out of shape and then having 2 contacts in the Gregsmobile. There's our wonderful sponsor, Pure Sim Gear. Remember, bringing you the Masters and Rookies. Please check out the links in our bio for all our partners and sponsors. This series is brought to you by the ACC Strategist app. Helps you calculate all your splits, your fuel calculations. Ideal for an endurance event. So if you are racing the 12 hours of Monza or the 24 hours of Suzuka, then worthwhile checking it out. Also helped and supported by Timpson's, your local cobbler, essentially. With huge thanks from Christopher Gedman for bringing that one into Formula Racing League. So Alexander Alves is watching the Aston Martin disappear off into the distance. He's trying to go for double bubble in terms of wins. Alexander Alves wouldn't mind 2 second places, but we are of round 3 of 7 races in this series. Next up is the Boot and the Watkins Glen. So we are going from the UK to the land of the free. There we go. We'll go with that. And USA and New York and Watkins Glen. No, Alan, not again. Alan killed himself. No. Oh, right, it was Alan who killed himself. I need my spotter. Just tell me where the fights are and then I'll look at it. Yes, I'm on my small screen. Not my big screen. So Marco is desperate to try and hog all the limelight here. We're not going to allow him to. We're going to have a look at Sean Connor with the fat ass 992 of Christopher Gedman right behind him. So this is a fight for P10. Sean Connor in the Garage 59 team. Gedman is going to try and poke his nose up the inside and wisely decides against it against the Vodafone McLaren, who manages to get the exit absolutely fantastically, sweeping right-hander for this never-ending complex of corners. Is it 1, 2 or 3 corners? Who knows? All I know is it lasts a very long time into the final corner, and I think Sean Connor has managed to potentially gap Gedman. No, he doesn't look like he's going away too much. Kind of need a beeper system, Chris, so if anything happens which I'm missing, you just need to beep me and remind me to look at it. So one of the biggest losers from the start of the race is Michael Firth. He's slowly starting to make his way back up through the grid. He's just made a move on car number 7. For any of your concerns, race fans, I didn't die. I just choked on some air. But anyway, Michael Firth made the move on Jake DeShong. He's also looking at car number 6, Alpa Patan, who's fallen down the grid. This time Michael Firth is in the slipstream once again. You can see Christopher Gedman defending from Fabio in front, as Michael Firth just opts against making that move. I just had to run in the house and grab a glass of water as Michael Firth has a much better hairpin. Is he going to try and make a move down the left hand side of Alpa Patan? Not on this occasion. We will try and jump on board Michael Firth and get a first hand view of how he's going to make this move. Alpa Patan goes defensive and then moves straight across into the braking zone. That is frowned upon in most racing circles. And is that counted as a double movement? As Alpa making it very difficult for Michael to make a move. on him by going defensive and then moving back across in the braking zone. So when Michael's trying to potentially try and outbrake Alpa, he then is suddenly greeted by a black Porsche. Yes, I do need a fridge in the shed. I have a heater, I have a fan, I don't have a fridge. I just had to run in the house and grab some water. There's a bit of damage to that Porsche. He's also got another Porsche directly in front of him of Christopher Gedman, and going down the start-finish straight. Firth is going to be under pressure from Jake de Jong as well, as we've got the sweaty sock has just dived into the pits. Michael Firth is thinking about a move and wisely decides against it. Alpa Patton gets very out of shape, bouncing across the grass, and Jake de Jong and Michael Firth absolutely fly past. So Barry Gibbons, his teammate, is not having the best of races. He's down in 18th, Fabio Gallimani in 19th, Mark GG is back on the track in 17th, then you've got Blizzy Blake in 16th, Alan Brizzle Brown in 15th. Alpa Patton has now dropped to 14th with that mistake. Jake de Jong promoted to 13th. Michael Firth into 12th. He's chasing down Christopher Gedman in 11th. Sean Connor in 10th. Mark Stewart in 9th. Daniel Chris Schneider in 8th. Thomas in 7th place. He's trying to chase down Domokos Kish, who's looking very closely at the rear of the Audi of Nico Veltman. Desmond Penguin is still in 4th place. And Marco Keddy is trying to chase down Alexander Alves, who is currently 2nd. With your leader, Mark Brophy, currently 2.5 seconds ahead of anyone. So looking at the rear of the Porsche of Alexander Alves, still has a comfortable gap last time around, though Marco was 3/10 quicker than Alexander, who popped in a 46.8, Kelly with a 46.5. Yeah, that's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Alan Brizzle Brown beats Blizzle Blake at Barcelona. There's somebody else, isn't there? Who's got a name like that. Rowdy Robbie Burns, imagine that. Alan Brizzle Brown overtaking Rowdy Robin Burns, but then on the inside comes Blizzle Blake at a blistering pace around Barcelona. And won by Benjamin Eck. There we go. Muttering at a man who, the mutterings of a man who knows that he is going to be commentating for 5 hours tomorrow, racing for 4 hours tomorrow, stewarding for the rest. And I might fall asleep in my chair at some point. And then has to go out for a meal with my in-laws on Sunday afternoon with no sleep, and look after a small child whilst I'm commentating for an hour. So that'll be interesting. You will meet the person who likes to throw everything around. I like to watch the spit dribble down, Tom. Adds to the effect. A little bit of moisture might make me think it's raining. So Christopher Gedman under pressure from Alpa Patton. These two collided in race 1, and once again they collide, and that is gonna hurt. Let's try and take another look at that one again. Just managed to jump onto the action. As we can see, Chris Gedman followed by Alan Brown, drifting through the right-hander. Alpa Patton runs wide, comes back onto the track, makes contact with the rear 3/4 of Christopher Gedman, who is now forced to pit. And I can just imagine the language that's happening in that chat. But meanwhile, Floppy Fox and has just overtaken Connor into P10, and ouch, red hot chili rock indeed. That's going to hurt in the morning. Apologies for dying during the stream. I didn't make myself a drink between race 1 and race 2. Yeah, lessons learned. I can imagine the language. I think we'll be taken down if I try and repeat some of Akavi or something like that. So, Mark Brophy, that gap has shrunk a little bit. 3/10 on that last lap, but I don't think they're going to be an episode of Rabsy Nesbitt. I can imagine him sat there with his string vest at his rig drinking some Tennants. But yeah, that gap between Alexander Alves and Mark Brophy has slowly closed in. It's now down to 1.9 seconds. That was 2.5 seconds at one point, and then we got Marco behind Alexander by half a second. Desmond Penguin is watching as an onward. Is looking on from a distance. Christopher Gedman, as he always does, has repaired his damage, and he is back 8 on track. So full credit to him. We have just under 5 minutes left of our race this evening. Don't forget as well, we have 2 endurance races this weekend. We have on PlayStation 5 the 12 Hours of Monza, which will be streamed, of course, on the FRL Race Hub YouTube channel. And we also have 24 hours in the land of the rising sun, Suzuka, for your entertainment. So please join us. Don't forget to give the channel a sub and give every stream a like. It really, really helps us out for such a small piece of effort. So make sure you do that in the remaining 4 minutes. If we manage to get to 1,000 subs by the end of Suzuka, I don't know, we'll give our 1,000th sub a prize of some sort. It might be an evening with Christopher Gedman. Who knows? Or a free flight on a Ryanair plane with a certain driver on track. So Dubokos Kish is 0.6 of a second behind Nico Veltman. They're just coming past and lapped Christopher Gedman. We've got 3 minutes left. That gap is right in front, is closing it in even more. Last time round, Alexander Alves was 0.6 quicker than Mark Brophy. 2 more laps like that and he is right on the back. But I think win a date with Christopher Gedman, win an English lesson with Christopher Gedman. That's going to be the prize for our 1,000th sub. He will teach you swear words, quite a lot of them. Or win a lifetime support from Techie Tom. There we go. But there will be. Well, we'll give, if we manage to make it by at the end of Suzuka, we will give some prize to our 1,000th sub once we figure out who that is. Anyway, Alexander, he speaks English, debatably. But gapping front is, well, still 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds. So last time around, Alexander Alves was 0.4 slower. Marco Kelly was lapping around a similar time. Brown is 0.2 of a second behind. 0.2 of a a couple of tenths of a second behind Sean Connor in 11th place. Then we got Jake Deschong is trying to chase down Alpa Patan, as we can see in the rear of this battle. RT won the lifetime support from Sekitomi. He did indeed. Just life in general. If you need to reset your PC, then you call Techie Tom at any hour of the day. That could be the prize for the 1,000th sub. I will design you a spreadsheet. Google Sheet. I'll go Google Sheets. Sergio will design you a house for any of your plumbing needs. Then we have Chris Smiley. If you need a tyre replaced, then we have David Crazy. So that could be prizes for the 1,000th sub. We'll list them down at some point. I am not contractually obliged to give out these prizes at this time. Anyway, so Michael Firth is right on the rear of Mark Stewart. Mark Stewart just outside the top 10 in race 1. As Floppy Fox shows his nose to the McLaren, and
leader's on final lap now.
As the leader is on the final lap, we're going to stay with the Floppy Fox versus the Spider Monkey as we go through the last couple of corners of this track. Again, much hated Snetterton gets a really bad rep, but it's provided us two very, very good races and two very, very prolonged battles, or a couple of prolonged battles in this race. So difficult to overtake, easy to make a mistake, and lots of grass to run off to, as we saw Gedman flying off into the walls. There you go. I'll fit you a cryogenic tank for free. Rental and project needs to be purchased from Bok, though. There we go. That's a prize for the 1,000th sub. I'm sure they're all flooding in. We'll give you a free subscription to the feet of our OnlyFans page, the feet of FRL admins as well. Free lifetime sub. Tom, we're waiting for your submission for that. Anyway, last lap of the race. Mark Brophy is going through the final couple of corners. That gap has hovered around 1.2 to 2.5 seconds for a large majority of the race, but Mark has looked pretty much untouchable in his Aston Martin as he was in race 1. Just holding it on for the final corner now to claim victory for race 2 of round 3 here at Snetterton, and a superbly dominant display from Mark, and congratulations. Second place Alexander Alves, followed by a third place from Marco Keddy. Fourth place will be Desmond Penguin once again. Nico Veltman, a better race 2 in 5th place. Domokos Kish in 6th. Thomas in 7th. Daniel Chris Schneider will cross the line in 8th place. The Spider Monkey and Floppy Fox will fight it out for 9th. The Spider Monkey will come out on top, and that is a very good result from him in 9th place, with Floppy Fox and his recovery drive into 10th. Alan Brizzle Brown manages not to kill himself or anyone else in 11th. Sean Connor will finish 12th ahead of Elpa Patan and Jake DeShong. Mark Stewart is has just been overtaken on the line. Has he run out of fuel? Well, he's crossed the line, but Barry Gibbons in 15th, Mark GG in 16th, Blizzy Blake coming across the line in 14th, followed by Fabio Gallimani in 18th place, and Christopher Gedman has already finished. So our winner this evening, categorically, has been Mark Brophy, who comes out on top with race 1 and a race 2 victory, and has been pretty much untouchable. I think he would have done a similar display if he had managed to qualify at Misano as well. We will be back once again next week for Watkins Glen. I almost said 24 hours of Watkins Glen, but I'm sure that would have shocked a few drivers, for another evening of late night club action. Be sure to join us for Monza and Suzuka tomorrow on PS4, PS5 and PC. Our week starts again at Watkins Glen on Sunday on PlayStation 5 with some more Scottish tones from Gordon. Tuesday sees Taco Tuesday, so you have Tom once again for commentary on that one. Thursday is the Masters and Rookies, and then Friday we are back again for late night. Please make sure you tune in tomorrow, and to all the drivers participating tonight, fantastic racing. To all the drivers participating tomorrow, make sure you get your head down early, and we will get ready for some fun. I've been the Pink Pig. Thank you very much.